Welcome back to my channel, guys, and welcome if you are new here. Today I'm going to show you how to make these beautiful and delicious apple ham pies in your air fryer in well under 30 minutes. So I don't know about you guys, but apple pie is one of my family's favorite desserts in fall and winter time. But I don't always have time to put everything together to make an apple pie. So these were very delicious, super easy. My kids loved them, so I'm excited to show you how to make them. I found this particular recipe in my favorite air fryer cookbook. I've talked about this book before, and I have it linked in my Amazon storefront, which is linked below in the description box, but you will not be sorry if you get this cookbook. There are so many good recipes in here. So this one was in the dessert section. It only required a couple ingredients, and this is the air fryer that I always talk about. I love it, it's simple, and we use it multiple times a week. So let me show you the few ingredients that you need to put these together. So of course you need apples. I'm using some local honey. Then we added some cinnamon and some ground nutmeg, some vanilla extract, cornstarch, which I will mix with water as a thickener in a little bit, and then the easiest part is a store-bought pie crust. I will have all of the ingredients and measurements listed below, and let's get started. You want to take your pie crust out and let them come to room temperature. They're much easier to work with when you let them sit out for 5 to 10 minutes. It makes a big difference. So I'm just going to set those aside, and we're going to get started on chopping up our apples. So I was using Macoun apples. These were from a local farm, super sweet. These were my last two. I was a little bit sad to use them up, but we had a great run with apples this year. We definitely enjoyed them in lots of different dishes. So it's always interesting to hear how other people use their apples up after the fall apple picking. So let me know in the comments below, what's your favorite way to prepare and or eat apples? After I finished peeling the apples, I went ahead and cut the cheeks of the apples off of the core, and then I just discarded the apple peel and the cores, and then we're just gonna dice up the apple and get that ready for the filling. Now that my apples are all diced up, you just want a small dice. We're gonna go ahead and put these in a small saucepan. So you wanna put a saucepan on medium-high heat, and then you're just gonna add your apples to that. Apples have quite a bit of water in them, so they kind of create their own juice, but we're gonna add a few things like the honey, which you will see, this is raw, unfiltered honey because it's from a local farm. It was super delicious, but it was a little tough to get out of the jar. I probably should have heated it up a little bit. So you want 1/8 of a cup of honey if you're making the same size recipe as I am. Then you're gonna add your cinnamon. And I am not a huge fan of nutmeg, but I added a dash. And then you're gonna add your vanilla extract, and you want to give this a good stir. And all of these flavors will meld together, and your entire house will smell like fall. So you want to keep a close eye on these apples, but they're going to cook for about 3 to 4 minutes. And in the meantime, we're going to combine our water with our cornstarch. So this is going to serve as a thickener so that we don't have lots of juice in our apple pie filling. And while the apples are cooking down, we're gonna prep our pie dough. So the pie dough comes from temperature pretty quickly. So you want to take it out of the little plastic bags, and at this point it should roll out pretty easily. I decided to use my 4-inch ramekins as a cutout. You could use glasses, you could use a biscuit cutter, whatever you have on hand. You just want all of the shapes to be the same. So, like I mentioned, I halved this recipe because I didn't need a full recipe for my family, but this made 4 pretty decent sized hand pies. So I'm just going through and cutting out my circles. And then I did the same thing with the second pie crust. So in the end, I had 8 circles of pie dough. So for each hand pie, you're going to use 2 of these and the filling will go right inside. And yes, I had a ton of leftover pie dough, but I have a really fun way that you can use up leftover pie dough, so stay tuned to the end and I'll show you. At this point, our apples had softened and it smelled so good. So it was time to add our cornstarch mixture just to make sure there was no extra liquid. So give it a quick little stir, add it in, and you really only need to cook this for another 30 seconds. You then want to take it off the heat and let it cool down just a bit. So here are my dough circles, and I'm just gonna divide up the apple filling in 4 equal amounts. You don't want to overstuff your dough, but you want them to be full enough so that it actually has a good pie to filling ratio. And surprisingly, this recipe made the perfect amount for these 4 hand pies. I think my son was hoping there was a little bit left over, but unfortunately for him, there was just enough. And here's the fun part. So I have a tiny dish of water just so that I can help seal the edges of the dough. You can just use clean hands, rub some water around the edge, and then you want to add another pie dough circle as your top. And with your finger, you just want to push around the edge to seal. Then you want to take a fork and just go around the edge very gently and just make sure that it is fully sealed. This just makes sure that it doesn't come apart while you cook it. And a very important step is to pierce the top of the pie. This gives a spot for the steam to escape, and if you don't, it will probably burst while it's in your air fryer. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the other 3, and then I'll show you how we put them in the air fryer. So for the last step, you need some sprayable vegetable oil, and you're going to place your hand pies in a single layer in your air fryer. You don't want to overlap them because they won't brown evenly, but 4 fit in my air fryer perfectly. So I'm just gonna lay those in there, and then I'm gonna give it a very light coat of oil, and this will just help with the even browning, and they come out absolutely beautiful. And you want to cook these at 400 degrees for 10 minutes, and you don't need to flip them. Look at how beautiful they looked when they came out. This was just 10 minutes later and they were ready to go. So I plated them up and then I dusted them with powdered sugar because I could. But look how pretty. How nice would these be for a dinner party? Bring these out as an easy, simple dessert. You could definitely prepare them in advance. And like I said, my kids loved these. So let me show you how we use our leftover pie dough. My kids love doing this, and this is something I did in my childhood. So this brings back lots of memories. So all you want to do is smush your dough together, roll it out in whatever shape you want, and then you're going to take some softened butter and spread that. This butter was a little bit more melted than I would like it, but it worked fine. I just gave my son a pastry brush because this knife just wasn't cutting it. And you just want to do a very thin, even layer. And he thought this was so fun. On this particular day, he was actually homesick. So this was a nice change of pace from sitting on the couch. And then you want to take cinnamon sugar, and then you just want to spread that over the butter. My littlest guy was hanging out watching. He was very interested in what we were doing. Then you just roll it up, and this is super fun for kids to do. There's no way that you can mess this up, so let them have at it. And you just want to roll it up, and then we're going to cut it into 1-inch pieces. I gave my son this little butter knife to cut his little circle pieces out, and he thought this was so fun. So once you have it all cut up, you want to kind of fan the pieces out. You put them in your air fryer, give them a really light spray of vegetable oil, and these cooked at 400 degrees for 5 minutes. And after 5 minutes, they were golden brown, super flaky. They were super delicious. So this is a nice treat for the kids, especially if they help you out in the kitchen. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video showing you how to make these easy, delicious apple ham pies and how to use your leftover dough. So if you are new here, I would love if you joined my YouTube fam and hit that subscribe button. And if you like videos like this, make sure you give us a thumbs up. Hopefully, we will see you in our next video.